Hey everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at weather for the next 8 to 10 days. In today's video, taking us more or less to the end of August, start of September, can you believe? The 30th of August, actually 10 days away, so we're more or less at the end of summer now. Meteorological summer running from the 1st of June to the 31st of August, of course. Now, you can get summery weather in September and indeed in October as well, of course, but it's useful when dealing with the statistics to have a direct cut-off point. And the last day of August is the last day of summer in terms of the statistics, and then we're on into autumn. So before I get on with that, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's green keyword ads on my pages at gazweatherviz.com. Running your cursor over green keywords, they'll display ads, but if you click through the words, you go to the advertised website. You'll be supporting gazweatherviz.com by doing that. So we'll start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies, the mean anomaly of the 500 millibar flow for 8 to 10 days time. Got the ECMWF here on the left, GFS is on the right. But as I say, this is taking us from around the 28th to the 30th of August, so we're more or less at the end of the month with this. The ECMWF has a big area of above average height sitting to the west of the country. Now, above average areas of height are extrapolated to high pressure because at 500 millibars, 80,000 feet, we've got above average temperatures, and as I say, that extrapolates to high pressure. The blue colours are where we've got below average temperatures, which extrapolate to low pressure. So we've got the high pressure sitting out to the west and the southwest of the country in 8 to 10 days time. The lines here are the jet stream running above that area of high pressure and then coming southwards more or less through the British Isles. Then they rise north again to the north of Scandinavia. That's quite a coolish sort of signal for that for the end of August, and it's reasonably unsettled as well. It's not a total washout because the high pressure is still just about close enough to the southwest to have some sort of influence, but we will be bringing areas of low pressure down across the country with that. Now notice this very vast, big area of blue up over the Arctic. That is the polar vortex that I was talking about last week. We've had a very early polar vortex getting going over the Arctic. It's been really cold up over the Arctic. I think almost breaking records actually in terms of how cold it's been for this time of year over some parts of the North Pole. This had the effect of really negating the ice melt season this year, so if you're worried about the ice in the Arctic, it's much better news this year. We haven't had anything like the extensive melt season that we had last year. Now there is still time for some melting. There will be some more melting over the next week or two to around the middle of September, but I think overall we're going to have much less of a melt season than we had last year and in some years previous. So that's pretty good news actually, I think, if you're worried about the ice. But for us, the idea is definitely that the jet stream is niggling us as we go through towards the end of the month with that high pressure out west of the country. The GFS, just to have a quick look at that, height anomaly, has more of an influence from the high pressure sitting to the west and the southwest of the country, extending in across England and Wales, but it's the same sort of idea with the jet stream still quite strong, running more in towards Scotland actually than further south, and again rising northwards over Scandinavia. Notice the blue up over the Arctic, again that's the polar vortex. It's very cold air up over the North Pole, not quite as extensive as the GFS, in slightly different positions, more towards Greenland, whereas the ECMWF, takes that to polar vortex more over towards the Canadian side of the Arctic. But it's the same sort of idea really, that we've got a very cold North Pole. Having a look at the GFS temperature ensembles, this is for the upper atmosphere, but useful for down on the surface. We can see that we're going to be a bit above average for the next couple of days. It's going to be quite warm. The red line here is where we should be. All members of the ensemble going above the red line, quite well above the red line for a few days actually, between around the 22nd and the 24th of August. So we're going to get quite warm again with temperatures up to the 80s Fahrenheit once again. But from around the 24th onwards, we're going to see the temperatures dipping back down, and then all members of the ensemble hover around the red line throughout actually, certainly for the week beyond that, looking much closer to normal with the temperatures, and you'd expect that with the jet stream niggling down across the country from the northwest. Also some rainfall spikes coming back on the bottom of the ensemble, so it does imply that we're in for not a washout of an end to August, but certainly a more unsettled end to August. As the ensemble for London, for Manchester, there's a lot more precipitation spots, as there always is. Manchester, very wet place, of course, as I'm sure you know if you live there. But nevertheless, that is implying that again we're bringing back more in the way of rainfall as we go through the rest of August, and some of that goes on into the start of September as well. That's some time away. Again, notice the fall in the temperatures, the drop in the temperatures from around the 24th through to the 25th, and then we hover around the seasonal average for the rest of the ensemble. Temperature anomalies for the next week. This takes us from the 20th of August to the 27th of August. It's going to be a little bit above average, but of course this is being skewered by the next 2 or 3 days, which are going to be very warm. Once we get on to, say, the 23rd to the 30th, then I think we're looking at probably nearer normal, maybe even slightly below normal temperature anomalies for some parts of the country. For the rainfall, precipitation anomalies for the next week, showing that we're going to be above average for Northern England and Scotland. Going to be quite a wet week coming up. Central some parts of England and Wales drier than average, but certainly for the north the implication is for quite a wet period on the way. So just having a quick look at the generic charts from the models for GFS first of all, shows that for Friday we've got this area of low pressure out west, this very deep area of low pressure on this morning's GFS. Real nightmare pinning down what's going on for the bank holiday weekend. I'm having an absolute nightmare with this, but this morning we've gone back to the idea it's going to be quite an unsettled bank holiday. So there's that low pressure for Friday. We're still more or less under the high pressure influences over Scandinavia, so quite warm. As we go out beyond that, the GFS midnight run wants to take that low pressure as quite a major feature in across the British Isles. I think it could be overdoing that area of low pressure, but it's such an uncertain period this bank holiday weekend. I can't really pin it down what is going to happen, to be honest. But eventually, as we get through to Sunday the 25th, we've got that low pressure sitting more or less over the country. We're losing the intensity of the low pressure, but that's implying that we bring quite a lot of rain in off the Atlantic through Saturday and Sunday. As we go through to bank holiday Monday, we're in this rather cool northwesterly flow across the country with showers in north. And as we go out beyond that, really we're staying unsettled then through next week, particularly for the north with these areas of low pressure. Always more of an anticyclonic influence of the south being extended in from that ridge of high pressure. And we end up 10 days time, the 30th of August, building a ridge across England and Wales, while Scotland and North Rhine would be rather unsettled. The ECMWF shows that again we've got the low pressure out to the west on Friday, the high pressure is to the east. As it develops that low pressure, as much of the GFS know it does, it actually brings it through as quite a slack feature. That will be bringing showers, maybe some thunderstorms, but it's not the sort of intense low pressure churning away that the GFS has got. Nevertheless, it's the idea that it's turning more unsettled and cooler as we go through the bank holiday weekend. And we're sort of going to end up through Tuesday the 27th, a week away, with this area of low pressure up to the north, extending more showery conditions down across the country, relatively unsettled and quite cool as well with these north to northwesterly flows. And by the time we get through to day 10, we're building a transient ridge across England and Wales, but we've still got low pressure close to Scotland. So a cooler, more unsettled week. Next week is certainly the signal. Not a washout, but a cooler, more unsettled. The GM, the Canadian model, again, there's that low pressure out in the Atlantic on Friday. The high pressure is to the east. We run that low pressure in. Again, it's not as an intense feature, not as much as intensity with that low pressure as we see on the GFS, but it's the same idea, the low pressure running in off the Atlantic, turning it unsettled through the bank holiday weekend. That's a rather cool, showery, unsettled bank holiday weekend signal, not a washout, but certainly showery. Bank holiday Monday, showing that low pressure is to the north of Scotland, bringing in that westerly wind. And as we move out beyond that, we're getting through to Tuesday the 27th with that low pressure still sitting there to the north of the country. And that's how we go into a 10-day period as well, with the low pressure to the north, high pressure out to the west, bring down this rather cool northwesterly flow. It's cool, it's showery, it's not a washout conditions, but it's certainly a sort of cooler signal for the end of August. Just have a very quick look at how the snow cover is developing over Siberia. You may think it's a bit early for this, but we have got one little patch of snow cover, one little patch of snow just appearing. I'll zoom in on this and you'll be able to see this. I'll go in close. there it is. The very first snowflakes have fallen off the Arctic coast of Siberia. As I say, it's quite early actually. You normally start getting the first little patches of snow turning up at the start of September. So again, this is giving us the idea, but it is quite cold in the Arctic this year. And of course, eventually, as we get through the next few weeks, we're going to find all of this becoming covered by snow. All of this area through Siberia will be covered in the next few weeks by snow. Thousands and thousands and thousands of miles worth of snow are going to cover the Siberian plain, and how quickly that happens actually is quite important for winter forecasts. It's one of the things I look at for my winter forecast. But there we go, the first very tiny little patch of snow has appeared on the Arctic coast of Siberia, and it's only going to increase from there. So autumn is definitely on the way, winter's on the way in the Arctic, of course. Now it's a 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. But in summary for this video, basically we're going to be very warm for the next day or two, then we're going to turn much more unsettled and cooler over Bank Holiday weekend. Detail on that very hard to pin down, but the general idea is a more unsettled spell for Bank Holiday. Then next week we end August on rather a changeable and cool, disappointing sort of note. That's it for now. 5-day forecast tomorrow. Come back for that. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.